Mark, congratulations on your book, the American and Australian version.
Yeah, that's both sides of the Pacific there, and there's German coming, and UK, and yeah, that's my life. Yeah, it's all in there. It's Dirty Deeds, My Life, inside and outside of ACDC. So it's all in there. Very interesting letter from Bon in there that you've read.
Yeah.
We won't go into that.
Yeah.
But no, it's just, you know, it's you know, I've been shown so much kindness and support over the years from the fans and the punters at gigs. It's just my way of repaying them, because it puts them on the inside of the band, because no one from inside the band has ever written anything, and the band tends to play cards pretty close to the chest, you know. So it just, you know, puts people on the inside of the band, and it's pretty much the story of my life from zero to now, you know.
But it seems to me anyone that's interested in ACDC at any level, this would just be a wealth of...
There's a lot of stuff in there, and it's, you know, we had a blast on it. We had a lot of good times, man. I've got great memories of the period, and it was interesting writing the book. There's so many things that were way back in my head. It came out, you know, and there's a lot more. So I destined to say there may well be a Dirty Deeds 2, but you're going to have to get the first one to make the second one make sense.
Yeah, yeah. And you have a website that you could...
Yeah, or you can go to the Allen and Unwood website, the publisher, but my website, just markevansblues.com, and that's got all the stuff about the book and CDs and a lot of archival stuff about ACDC too. So
yeah. And you'll sign a copy for...
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, since it is, you know, about your ACDC time in a way, the title suggests that, let's talk about that. How did you wind up in that band, in the ACDC group?
Well, it was March 1975, and I was doing what I normally did back in those days. I was in a pub playing pool, and a good pal of mine I used to play football with, Steve McGrath, was in the pub, and he happened to be roading for the guys at the time, and said, listen, you know, there's this band ACDC, and I'd heard of them vaguely. I'd seen a poster on the wall at the Hard Rock Cafe, a club I used to go to, that said ACDC had coming, and it was a thing with Angus on there. And I sort of knew there was a guy dressed in a school uniform. He said, they're looking for a bass player, and he just gave me the address. I went around Saturday afternoon and knocked on the door, and pretty much went from there. They weren't home at the time, they were at a gig, so I went in and sat down with Angus's girlfriend, had a cup of tea, and then they come back from a gig, and there I was sitting on the couch, and they walked in and basically gave me the, who the are you sitting on our couch? They can be a little bit... you know, direct to guys. So, you know, but we just went from there, and they gave me a copy of the record, went back the next day and, you know, played the songs with them, and we went from there. And I've got to tell you, you know, with all the gear set up in the hallway of the house in East St Kilda, first song we tried was a song off the first album called Soul Stripper. And Malcolm put me at ease by saying, hey, listen, the guy before you couldn't get this one together, that's why you're here. And, oh, great, I better get this right. So, yeah, so we started playing, and it was like a huge light bulb went on. From the first 4 or 5 bars playing with the band, I knew I was supposed to be there, and it's, you know, it's just one of those moments I'll remember forever. You know, it was loud, it sounded like the band, so I just knew I was supposed to be there. So it was basically how I found myself in ACDC, and that was Sunday afternoon, and the following Saturday, by that stage I'd done 3 or 4 gigs for them, and then I found myself on national TV doing Countdown within the first week, and that was the one where Bon was dressed up as a schoolgirl. So it was it was a very busy week. That was my first week with the band. So and things sped up after that.
Yeah,
it was it all went very, very quickly.
Yeah, but would you have seen what happened to them coming, or did you think that it would just be a group that would do some pub gigs, or because I mean they were not attracting a lot of attention early on, were they?
No. Well, when I first started with them, the first week I was playing with them, you know, we were playing to 10, 15 people in you know, small pubs and bars, you know. It took off very quickly after that. But from the outset, after the first time I played with them, on that Sunday afternoon, Ralph, the road manager, drove me home. And we just having a bit of a chat, and he basically said, "Oh, this is going to work out well for you. You're going to be in the band." I said, "Oh, great, fantastic." And he said, "But you must remember two things." He said, "Number one, it's Malcolm's band, and number two, we're going to be living in London in 12 months." And at that point, I thought, you could have said to me, "Oh, we're going to be playing a gig on the moon in 12 months." It would have had the same relative to me. I was just like, "Oh, yeah, sure." But within a very short time, I discovered that that's what the plan was, and that's Malcolm's view for the band. That's what was going to happen. And they were dead serious, man. They were always going to be big, and just that's the vision that Malcolm had, and George, his older brother, and Angus, to probably a little lesser extent at that stage. They were primed to go all the way. And the reason for that, I think, is Malcolm and Angus grew up in a household where they had an older brother, George, who was in the Easybeats, that was in an internationally big band.
Like they were our Beatles at one stage.
Really. Yeah. Well, they were, and they had a top 5 hit in England and Europe and in the States. They were a big band. So, if you put a band together, say, "Oh, gee, it'd be great to be doing 2 or 3 gigs a week in 12 months." That wasn't the case for them. The bar was automatically set a lot higher because it was acceptable for them to, "Oh yeah, we can do it because our brother's done it." So their expectations were a lot higher. So that's what it was. They knew that. I kind of think they knew they were going to do it. I don't think they would have realised it was going to be this large, but
Well, talking to...
But that's actually them probably flying over in their jumbo now.
Yeah, I'd say so. But talking to, some of the fellas from Masters Apprentices, they're just mistakes, and they missed the boat.
Yeah.
And I suppose...
A great band, the Masters, too.
Mm-hmm. But with ACDC, having had the Easybeats go before, the mistakes would have been, not repeated, that Australian bands were making in the 60s, as far as... They would have had a clear vision of how to go about doing it. Yeah,
I think so. The Easybeats went within an ace of picking up all the marbles. They could have been massive. So I think the miscues that probably happened with the Easybeats, probably mostly along the lines of management. I believe from hearsay. George took a lot of potholes out of the road for us. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, the added plus was the guy's just a genius in the studio, genius at putting songs together, and he happened to be the elder brother of Angus. It was all set up, and and they were house producers at Albert's, so the connection was there for the record deal. At the same time that went down. The band got new management. Michael Browning took over and moved the band to Melbourne, which was a hot spot for live music then. So there's a lot of things came together at the one time. The lineup that didn't record High Voltage, came together with Phil joined in Melbourne in January or February, and I joined a month later. So everything sort of come together at once. Countdown had just started. Colour TV had just come in. So there was all these sort of things that lined up. And, I think if you have a successful band, you've got to be prepared, but the opportunity's got to come along, which that's where the luck comes into it, and I think everything just come together at once, and that's what helped the band grow so quickly, because it took off like a rocket. Like we went from playing 10 to 15 people a night to playing to all the big beer barns in Melbourne, Matthew, playing to 1,000 people a night and doing 3 of those a night, all within a couple of months. And that had a lot to do with Countdown and Meldrum getting behind the band. Molly got behind the band and pushed the band to an amazing degree. They financed and shot those, the Long Way to the Top video, the Jailbreak video. They did that off their own bat. The ABC just did that, And so they were incredibly supportive. So all those things came together and boom, off it went. Mm-hmm. Oh, a lot of hard work too,
I would estimate. Yeah, you don't get that sort of success without putting in the yards.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Well, I've often wondered at what point did Angus arrive at the level that he played at? Did you watch him improve, or was he already there as a great player?
From the first moment, I hark back to the first time I played with him in the hallway at the house. Both amazing players, and what nailed me from the start was how well the guitars worked together. Mm-hmm. They're like telepathic, those guys. So that was there, you know. That was there from when I come aboard. They were just, you know, out of this world, you know. Their work ethic too, phenomenal. They're just driven guys, you know. I kind of think that maybe they'll put on this earth to do what they do. They just, you know, I don't think there's a better guitar duo in any band anywhere. They're phenomenal players, but they were all fully formed and like that when I came on board, you know. It was just, they're just dynamic, man, you know, and unbelievably loud. You rattle your teeth. But that's what the sound. And another thing that amazes me, if I go to gigs and people are doing an ACDC song and they're covering a song, and they have these big, dirty, heavy metal guitar sounds. And I feel like saying, "Excuse me, guys, can you go back and listen to the record? Their guitar sounds are really, really clean. There's these clean sounds, and that's why the guitars work so well, because you can tell the difference between the guitars, and they're actually really clean sounds for that sort of music, you know, and that's how it works. Those guitars knit so well. They're great at what they do, man.
Yeah, it is surprising. Like, you know, you said about Bon, he comes across, everything about their image is not like what they really are, huh? You know, and as you said, that people think of them as a heavy metal band, but
yeah,
you know,
yeah. Well, I'm still amazed that, you know, you read articles they call it like heavy metal band. It's just like, it's a rock and roll band. You know, it's always. You know, I'm probably the worst person to ask about that, because I'm a bit set in my ways, but it's always been a rock and roll band. It's like a blues-based rock and roll band, in the genre of, say, what the Stones are. You know, it's ACDC are a bar band. That's what it is. It's a bar band, you know, and it's blues-based, and it's, you know, that's what it is, and if someone to call it, maybe you can call it heavy rock, I guess. But you know, if you ask the guys what they play, they say, "Well, we're a rock and roll band," you know, because it's all steeped in that blues thing and Chuck Berry, and listen to a lot of Angus's guitar motifs. They're all that sort of Chuck Berry stuff, you know, much the same as what Keith Richards does, you know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, heavy metal. Not in a million years, man. Not in a million.
And the solos are so architected and composed.
He builds them really well, doesn't he?
Yeah, like you know, I don't know if he goes home and figures them out, or if it's just natural to him. And
I think both of them are natural players. I don't think he can play that well without being natural. You have to. It's instinctive to them. I know how they play together. You know, from what I know of them, they're incredibly instinctive. But you know, when I was with the band, Angus would be practicing constantly. You know, we'd share a house together, and you'd go past his room, he'd be sitting on the end of his bed, just playing his guitar, tapping away. You know, it'd be a 2 or 3 hour guitar solo going on, and that's what he'd do. He'd just be practicing his riffs and stuff, you know. So his application then for practice was, you know, the rest of us wouldn't see our instruments unless we're at the gig, you know. It was like, I think that's my bass guitar. Is it? Yeah, but yeah, that's worse, because we never rehearsed. The band, you know, we had a bit of a jam when, sort of like audition, learnt the songs, and then other than that, I think we had a couple of rehearsals when we first went to England, because we had some time off, and then when we come back from England, we checked our gear to make sure it worked. So the band never rehearsed at all.
How'd you learn the songs?
In the studio when we wrote them.
Okay.
All the songs were written in the studio. We'd learn them, a few of the songs that ended up on albums, things like say like Ride On or Ain't No Fun Waiting Around to Be a Millionaire. We only ever played them once. That was on the record. They never got played again.
Right, so you didn't do them live?
No.
Right.
No. On Dirty Deeds, because of the time constraints, because we're only sort of like doing 30-minute sets, because we're doing supports to say like Blackmore's Rainbow or Black Sabbath, you know, you have 30 minutes. We'd start off with Livewire and finish with Baby Please Don't Go. That would probably leave room, because Baby Please Don't Go went forever. Mm-hmm. You know, that'd probably leave room for like 2 or 3 other songs. So, you know, time control. I think it was with Dirty Deeds. I think we only ever would have played live. We would play Dirty Deeds, Problem Child, and Jailbreak. That's the only songs we ever played live off the album.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, great. You had some great songs in there too, you know. Yeah. Right On is amazing. Mm-hmm. In fact, I heard something the other day that was amazing. Is it Nora Jones?
Yeah.
She does Ride On as an encore live, and it's amazing hearing a treatment of that song. Eric Burden's done a version of it too. Which is what a singer, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, hearing Nora Jones doing it, it sort of almost sounds like a bit like Fleetwood Macish, you know. But yeah, we never got to do the song on stage. They band may have done it later on with Brian, I think. But yeah, there's a lot of songs that just didn't make it live. Mm.
Well, you were on 3 studio albums.
Yeah.
And then the live album.
So I believe some of the live albums. It's on TNT, Dirty Deeds, and Let There Be Rock.
Right. Okay.
And I assume, you know, I think some of the recordings for the live album were I think taken from a My Music Bowl gig. I think I couldn't be sure. Don't you know?
Okay.
Bit hard to say on camera, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
Live gigs could be anywhere.
Okay. Talk me through those albums. What was it like to what was the experience? What happened when you got into the studio?
We plugged in and made records, pretty much. The first time I ever was in a studio was when we did the TNT sessions, and all the albums I was involved in, the studio albums, were all recorded over a fortnight. We'd go in, and the first week would be to get the backing tracks down. All the backing tracks would be recorded in that first week, and they also would be written in that first week. So we'd go in. Phil and myself might know a little bit of a tune that we'd be messing around with a sound check or something, but all the songs would be written and recorded in that first week. So we would just go in and work on the tunes, get the grooves going. At TNT, a lot of times George would be playing bass, because George mentored me a lot with my bass playing, and he is the amazing bass player, man, just a knockout. So yeah, George would sit down with the guys and work out the arrangement on the piano. The 3 of them, George, Angus and Malcolm, would be sitting down at the piano, all on the same piano stool. That gives you an idea of the size of them. They're all sitting like that on a stool that wide. They're like doing this, you know. Be like the Marx Brothers. And so they get the structure tested, and George, being would do a lot of work with them. So we'd sit down and get the grooves going, and then hit the button. And the second week would be for getting vocals down, backing vocals, and all the guitar solos. So, but everything would be recorded live. Well, I think why we could record so quickly is that the drums, 2 guitars, and the bass all set up in one room, all our stage gear, all the amps would be pointed towards the wall and close mic'd. And so if we got a take, that was it. George would mix it and do whatever he had to do later on. But that's probably the reason we could record it efficiently, because all the albums were basically, what you hear is that's the band live in the studio. And that's why you go see a gig, it sounds just like the record sounds just like the band, because that was the band playing live in the studio. It wasn't, you know, half a dozen guitars and this and there, and we've got a glockenspiel on this one. All the recordings are very, very, very authentic and very rootsy, you know, and that, you know, that's what the band sounded like. You know, it didn't sound like anyone else because it was us. It was us playing live. You know, so that's what probably made it easier to play live because there was nothing extra on the album. You know.
Yeah. So the songwriting was like a democracy. You'd come up with a part and say.
Oh, you know, no, I don't think you could ever use the word democracy and ACDC in the same sentence. You know. You know, the songwriting was very much Angus and Malcolm and Bon, and that's what it was. You know, I have no doubt that with Phil with his drum style and probably later on with me playing bass, we might have influenced things a little bit or come up with, you know, but that's part of a band situation, you know, but the songwriting was always very much Angus, Malcolm and Bon. Angus and Malcolm were always, they were very involved in writing the lyrics too.
Oh, really?
They'd come up with ideas, they'd come up with song titles like the TNT thing, the TNT I'm Dynamite, like, that was Angus's thing. He'd be walking around reciting it, like almost doing like a Muhammad Ali thing, you know. So, you know, I know later on people have pointed to the fact that it's questionable where some lyrics had come from, you know, but yeah, Angus and Malcolm were always involved with ideas and lyrics. But Bon was the main lyric writer, of course. But you know, they were always writing a lot of lyrics, a lot of things like "Can I Sit Next to You, Girl?" That's just Angus and Malcolm who wrote the song, so they were writing lyrics right from the very start. So it's only natural that they would continue on and write lyrics. Anyway, and when you had the three of them working on an idea, great. And Bon's lyrics too, his stuff is just, it's great. It's got a great sense of humour to it. Yeah, I think it's probably that little bit of the extra humour, tongue-in-cheek thing. It's probably changed a bit over the years, but I think there's an amazing charm to his lyrics.
What was it like playing on stage with him? He must have had so much charisma.
Yeah, well, it was just a great front guy. It was a lot of fun. It was a great guy to be around anyway. And he's one of those guys that, you know, punters that come to the gig, they just wanted to hang out with him. You know, that's freaking Bon, you know. And he had that magnetism. And I think he attracted everyone. I think it says a lot about his talents as a frontman, is that, you know, when he was in the band, Bon was very much the frontman of the band, right? And Angus was basically riding shotgun and was his little mad mate there, you know. And then later on, I think, you know, pretty much Angus is probably the face of the band, you know. But yeah, Bon was very much the front man, and I think that says a lot about his prowess. And like, to have two such strong characters fronting a band, it was, you know, it's a gift, you know, to have two guys like that. You know, at the time, I don't think anyone quite realised what we had in having those two guys out front. You know, we knew it was great. You know, we knew it was a good band, but like back in, say, when I joined the band in '75, you had to been saying, okay, it's 2012 and I'm doing an interview with you about the band. You would say, you see a doctor, you know.
It's not going to last.
You wouldn't. You just wouldn't have the idea that it was like that.
It's going to be the biggest band in the world, huh?
Well, you know, it's now that the band's, you know, they're the biggest back catalogue selling band in the world. They've beaten the Beatles into second place. Now, if you're in a band that's beaten the Beatles into second place in anything, I think you're doing okay, you know. Yeah. and I've got to tell you, and it's a reward for those guys, and they deserve it, man. Their work ethic and the amount they've put in over the years, man. They deserve all that, man. I got a lot of respect for it.